Today we'll be discussing live tells for low stakes poker. In recent years, live tells have taken a back seat to game theory. However, I believe using live tells can still give you a great edge in certain situations. This video is going to break down the three most prevalent live tells for low stakes poker and discuss when and how to implement them into your game. Before I get into the three live tells, I want to discuss some disclaimers about live tells as a whole. First off, game theory and strategy should take precedent over live tells. The way I like to think about this is follow the strategy first, and when you're in a decision where you're indifferent or need a little sway one way or another, then you look into live tells to help you make that decision. The next disclaimer, tells are not 100% true in all situations. They are very player dependent and situation dependent. So while one live tell may work against a specific opponent, it may not against another. This is where you need to pay attention, take mental notes on players, and adjust your strategy. The third disclaimer is that good players may try to act in reverse of these tells. When a good player recognizes you may be picking up on tells, they may try to act in reverse and do the opposite to get you to do what they want you to do. So again, going back to the previous point, pay attention to what this player does and take a mental note of that and adjust moving forwards. The first live tell we're going to discuss is the reaction to being asked the question, may I see your stack? When you're in a big decision and you ask your opponent, can I see your stack? Assuming their hands are in the way, they will do one of two things. They will snap their hands back quickly to show you how much they have, or they will methodically move their hands out of the way. This will mean either weak or strong. Let's go to the first example. They snap their hands back quickly to show you how much they have. This, they're trying to show you strength by moving their hands out of the way quickly, as to say, yeah, go ahead, put your money in. I'm fine with the money going in. Look at all this, look at all the money I have. I don't care if you bet more. I don't care if you call. That's showing strength. This goes back to the oldest poker tells. Strength equals weak, weak equals strength. What you're trying to show is the opposite of what you really are. The second situation is they will slowly move their hands out of the way to show you their stack. This often means strength. When you're strong, you act comfortably and slow, and you don't want to express how comfortable you are with putting in the money. That way, they're moving slow. They're not like, oh, quickly put in the money. This tell works when you're facing a bet or deciding if you want to bet. For example, you're on the river, your opponent just shoved all in, their hands are in front of their stack. You would ask, hey, can I see how much you have in your stack? Or can you lift your hands for me? Then you would note their reaction and make your decision based upon that. Or if you're deciding how much to bet, their hands are in front of their stack, you say, hey, can I see how much you have left? And you see their reaction. This can work in both situations, and it's a very, very, very good tell. Noted, this is something that high stakes cash player Garrett Adelstein uses a lot in his game. If you watch any of his live streams, you'll come across him doing this move quite often. The next live tell we will be discussing is the hum and the haw and then the bet. This happens when a player hums and haws about their decision or what they think that you have. They say, oh, I don't know what you have here, or I think you got me here, and then they end up taking an aggressive action. This is one of the oldest poker tells, but it's still around and still prevalent in the game now. Let me do a couple examples. First example, they say something like, oh, I know you got it. Oh, you have to got it here. You're good here. I think you're good here. And then they raise you. The next example, they say, oh, what could you have here? I just don't think you have it. You got to be bluffing here. And then they bet. This is almost always strong. When they're doing this, they're trying to weaken the strength of their hands verbally and then make an aggressive action. The way you could think about this hand is, say you bet into them. They talk like they don't know if they even want to call, and then they raise. They're trying to portray weakness, and then they act in strength. This goes back to the thing we talked in the previous slide. Weakness equals strength, strength equals weakness. In this situation, they're trying to show weakness, hence they are strong. The third live tell we're going to talk about today is a quick bet on a nut changing river. When a river card comes in that changes the effective nuts on the board, and then your opponent bets quickly when they had fired on prior streets, it is oftentimes a bluff. Just for reference, nut changing rivers are one where a flush completes, straight completes, board pairs, and the best possible hand on the board or the effective best possible hand on the board changes. The reason this tell is so good is because when an opponent bets quickly on the river, they didn't have time to think about if their hand is still good for value or what sizing they want to use for value now that the board changed drastically. Since the board changed drastically, they have to take the time to think about that. And when they just bet very quickly, it is unlikely that they have a strong value hand. It's more likely that they have a bluff that now that the board comes out, they're trying to scare you off of your hand with. Let's go over an example. Say button raises, you're in the big blind, flop comes, king 10-4, two hearts, opponent bets, you call, turn 6, opponent bets, you call. Now here comes the river. Opponent bets on the 9 of hearts river very quickly when it comes out. This river, the 9 of hearts, brings in both a straight with queen 10 and brings in the flush draw with the hearts. When they bet quickly, it's unlikely that they have a strong value hand because they would have thought about what sizing do I want to use, what's my opponent's range here, and many other factors. So when they bet quickly, it's very unlikely that they have a strong value hand, and they may just be using this card as a scare card. Therefore, you can adjust the majority of the range towards a bluff. Okay, those are the 3 tells we're going over today. Now let's run through a conclusion about how to use those tells, when to use those tells, and implementing them into your game. First off, theory should still be put in front of tells. Theory is more important. Tells should be used if you're indifferent or unsure in a situation. Next, get comfortably mentally noting players, saying, okay, this player, this tell is really prevalent in their game. I could use this a lot. Or, yeah, this person, this tell does not work for him. Start mentally noting these players and use that information going forwards. And then finally, make adjustment when your tells aren't correct. There's going to be players, there's going to be situations where your tells just don't work in. Note that and move forward with that information and make those adjustments to improve your game. If you do all those 3 things, these tells will work for you greatly. Thank you for watching.